From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott and Mundt, and this is Weather or Not for Tuesday, March 3rd. We had some fog early this morning in central South Dakota. As we go through the morning hours, that will go away. We'll have mostly sunny skies for many during the afternoon. That will help temperatures warm. That's a trend that will continue right into tomorrow and even on Thursday. Though Thursday, we will watch an approaching low pressure system. Ahead of this, we'll have southerly wind, south to southeast wind, which of course will help keep these temperatures warm. Also, bring in moisture. Anytime we get the southeast wind, and we're getting into March now, and the warmer months ahead, that southeast wind is usually a good one to help bring in some moisture as we're trying to get some connection going with the Gulf. And that is something we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show. So this low pressure system will continue to make its way near the area, we'll say, whether it shows up right where it is on Futurecast here or not, and maybe a little bit farther to the west and southwest. But it's something that we'll have to monitor, not only for Thursday, but for Friday, because those days we are looking at shower and thunderstorm development late in the day Thursday, could be Thursday night, and even lingering into Friday. But the way it looks right now, we'll go with the time frame of late in the day Thursday, probably Thursday evening, for developing thunderstorms in southeastern KELOLAND. This is today. Winds are light. They've been light this morning. That continues into the afternoon. You see that 3 o'clock this afternoon, even continuing 6 and 9 o'clock, still with these relatively light winds. Forecast for today showing temperatures in the 40s and 50s, central and eastern KELOLAND. We may hit 60 in Rapid City with that north wind of 10 to 15. Tonight, temperatures will fall to the 20s and 30s, and then for tomorrow, another warm day. Numbers expected to reach the 50s, 60s, and even a couple of isolated 70s will show up across western South Dakota. Coming up in the next segment, I want to do a quick recap on some of the precipitation numbers that we have going for the early part of March and how much rain some of us received yesterday. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. I do want to take a look at some of the rainfall amounts from yesterday, as they were few and far between, but we had a little band of rain set up during the evening hours in southeastern KELOLAND. And you see these numbers coming in, just enough to measure there in Mitchell, 1/100th of an inch, but Canova over a 10th, near a 10th in Sioux Falls. Laverne coming in at 4/100ths of an inch, and Sheldon at a little bit over a 10th of an inch. Otherwise, we had pockets of drizzle, maybe a quick hit of light rain, and the amount stayed very, very light. You can see that the capital came in at 3/100ths of an inch, and Pine Ridge just shy of a 10th of an inch. And you know what? That's the most precipitation we've had dating back to January 20th and 21st. That 2-day stretch, we had just over a 10th of an inch of liquid precipitation that came out to be 1.5 inches of snowfall. And you see that yearly number in the bottom right portion of your screen. We are below average by about 1.25 inches. As we do check some other locations across KELOLAND, how we're doing in that precipitation department, all of us coming in below average, about 1/3 of an inch below in Aberdeen, 1/4 of an inch in Watertown, approaching 1 inch in Huron, as well as Pierre, and a little bit over a 1/2 inch below average in Rapid City. Now, we do have chances for precipitation on the way. This is something we showed yesterday. This is look at the European model. Wet Hen circled that area yet again for our thunderstorm chances late in the day Thursday going into Friday. If we get a thunderstorm overhead, you could easily pick up over a 1/2 inch of rainfall. The American model is also showing better chances for precipitation, showing up across eastern South Dakota as well as Minnesota and northwestern Iowa. Now, unfortunately, the thunderstorm chances come with severe weather. We'll have to watch for that too. And that is something that Brian Karstens and I will talk about coming up next. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not, bringing in meteorologist Brian Karstens now. And Brian, we have a lot going on this week. It's nice to see some warmer temperatures coming in. I know we still have the snow to melt in northeastern South Dakota. That will happen with temperatures being well above average, even over the snow-covered areas. A chance for numbers to return to the 60s. Even some 70-degree readings may be found. And then as we get into the end of the week, it's Thursday, Friday. We're watching that time frame for a system to roll across the area. It's a timing issue, as I would say anything is with weather. I mean, people want to know, what time to expect this and that. So we'll have to watch and see when the system moves through. But if it does slow down, that can mean warmer temperatures for us, but also a little bit more instability in the atmosphere for us. That there is that chance for severe weather late this week.
Well, and it's safe to say it's in the neighborhood, Scott.
Definitely.
We've got thunderstorm outlooks here. In fact, just kind of to dive right into the picture here, this is the SPC forecast outlook here on their day 3. They've got a marginal risk across much of eastern Nebraska into western Iowa. It does sneak up into far southeast South Dakota. That's based upon the assumption that there would be what we call elevated thunderstorms. So basically, the air mass is destabilizing, but it's disconnected from the surface. So a lot of times, if you get something like this, you might get some hail, possibly. It's pretty easy to do that. If you can imagine, the freezing level in those clouds is still pretty low this time of the year.
Early March.
Oh, yeah. In fact, this ultimately, Scott, the whole entire, basis that we're talking about this in early March is kind of interesting. Seemed a little too early for this, but I guess given the fact we've been mild in February, we're kind of getting right into this, at least a little preview. Now, Friday is the day that has a lot more possibilities here. Okay, so first off, just look at the map here. This is the day 4 from SPC, and they did, for one thing, they've expanded the yellow color here, so basically the general outline of severe weather now goes into southern Minnesota, southern Wisconsin. The northwest edge is just about to Sioux City, Iowa, and that is also a shift westward than compared to what it was yesterday. And then they've enhanced the tornado outbreak potential, or at least the concentration of severe weather, northwest Missouri all the way down into eastern Oklahoma. Labeled that as a tornado outbreak. I mean, that's certainly something that can happen on a scenario like this. Big deal. We've got to watch this because if we toss in any of our southeastern counties, the parameters here are for early March, pretty significant, but that's all a placement issue. Where on the map? I think the concept is there. It's just the placement and timing, and those are typical things that we deal with making these forecasts a few days out.
Well, and that's just it. So we'll continue to follow, the location of this low-pressure system. That, of course, is the big deal as we do go into your Thursday and Friday. So here, again, is just another look at what you just showed us, but I threw the low-pressure system in. That's showing up eastern, northeastern Colorado. Now, that's according to the European model. So that's for Thursday. We'll see if it ends up there, and we'll see what the models say for it tomorrow. Now, if it lags behind, Thursday could be a day where, we get this southerly fetch go a little bit longer. Maybe the clouds hold off a little bit longer, that we can see temperatures that are a little bit warmer than the numbers we have right now. And then what the European is doing for Friday is it's putting low pressure across eastern Nebraska. And we have that heightened risk, what you labeled there, Brian, with that tornado outbreak. That's along dry line. I know SPC was talking about that dry line, trying to push across those areas there to help enhance their chances for severe weather. But again, say this low pressure system maybe isn't that far east, or maybe not even that far north. Maybe it moves a little bit farther north. So we have to watch the placement of that. If it is a little bit farther west, then I think that that whole outline itself can obviously be moved a little bit farther to the west and maybe a little to the north too. I mean, it all depends on the placement of stuff. And here we are just a couple of days out. I like what you said. The overall concept is there that we will have strong to severe weather, mainly to our south, yes, but some of that can sneak into southeastern KELOLAND.
And you look through history and you know the biases on modeling, okay? This is important because you and I have these discussions off camera when we're going back and forth, like, okay, how is this going to be really handled? And I think it's important to recognize that a scenario like Friday, the system that comes out, typically, if it comes out stronger than currently anticipated, because ultimately we have a warm sector that's got some instability, we've got a front on the move and those kind of things. But we also recognize we're not dealing with what I would say is the traditional, I'll use a technical term, a big deformation zone or a big, huge wraparound on this deal. There is some of that. There's some snow being projected in South Dakota.
Thank you for mentioning that, too. Get all excited about the changing of the weather, bringing in warm temperatures and severe weather. We can't forget about that snow behind it.
It's there, but it's also more loosely organized. So I'll be curious to see if this system does develop a little bit more. Now, remember, why do storms develop in the first place? And what makes March systems typically more, at least more active, is the fact that a lot of times we have contrasting air masses, don't we? We have, the warmth of the season to our south colliding with the remnants of winter. And we have said from the beginning, this system lacks cold air. I mean, we're talking
that Futurecast graphic up.
Well, I do. The one with the numbers on it. Maybe that's the one you're referring to.
Bring that one up. I mean, that will help tell the story too. As you mentioned, really not connected to the cold air, as temperatures behind it when it is showing snow. I think we still have numbers. Middle 30s are some of the coldest readings right now.
Yep. I'm just going to zoom right over to this since you brought it up. Okay, so here's an example. This is Friday morning. You can see your thunderstorms. Now, you'll notice this is typical. Model run to model run. It shifted a little south. That's not, that's totally within the normal things that we would expect on this. But you notice most of South Dakota is in a northerly or northwesterly wind on Friday. And then the temperature forecast during the day. Look at Huron and Chamberlain, for example. You've got some 40s in here. And the modeling is saying, well, maybe we get just enough evaporative cooling, which is a concept that, I don't like forecasting snow on that.
You know my position on
that. It works. It can work.
I understand the concept.
Yeah, it just gets, it's more complicated. And what we mean by that is you have to physically drag in drier air. Okay, follow our thinking here. If you drag in drier air underneath, then you're going to create more evaporation, which is then going to cool the column of air. And see, that's why, then you get into March and April. This is, kind of how things have to go a lot of times because we're running out of cold air. So a lot of times it's this modified, drier air that gets sucked in on the northwest side. But this system right now is not barking at us as a big windstorm. It's kind of transient in the fact that it kind of brushes us with this. And then we're back at warmer weather this weekend. So if I think about all of that, Scott, I do think that this system is probably not going to get a lot stronger than what it's currently forecasting, if I'm just going to give my honest opinion on that. If I had more polar air or something else to work with, then I'd be a little more like, oh, maybe this will amp up a lot more. But we'll see. We've got still a couple days to watch it. And that's kind of our 2 cents on this whole thing. But it's definitely a severe weather outbreak south of us. It's just a matter of how much and
the overall track, too. Now, remember, during this program, we've talked about the systems that gave us the snow started north, and then they would push to the south. Now we're following more of the, these warmer systems moving through, starting south, and we've already seen that push to the north by the outline of the SPC, looking at the chances for severe weather that have been pushed a little farther to the north.
Right.
So we'll see if this is one of those trends that can continue as we go into, well, April, maybe even extending into May. If we get these southern systems to start, get an early look at them, is the trend to move those to the north? Right now, I would say probably yes, but we'll
Well,
continue to see if that trend continues.
with a lack of cold air around too. I mean, that's the other
Yeah,
thing
what's gonna
about
push it?
Friday. Could this thing end up? Yeah, just the whole thing shifts north because there's nothing really to hold it back. That's a warranted idea, I think, on this. So we've got those things in play. By the way, we're going to warm up early next week. I know we've teased a little bit about that on the big picture, and the whole pattern is eventually going to trend towards some colder weather again. So we get these brief, we're going to get these hits of milder air that make us think spring is here to stay, and then it's typical KELOLAND weather.
Back and forth.
It just
Well,
goes the other way.
I like how you said that too, because typical KELOLAND weather, thunderstorms in southeastern South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota, snow into western South Dakota. We usually see that once, maybe twice a year, whether it happens in the fall or it happens in the spring.
Yeah.
I would say a good average is once or twice a year.
Yeah, it happens, and it is that is the classic way to change the seasons up. And if that doesn't rev up this go around, well, guess what? We've got all of March, we've got April, and even May for that example. So we worked here long enough. We worked Mother's Day blizzards and
Oh, yeah.
other things well into that time of year.
Mother's Day tornadoes, too.
Oh my, yes, back in 2015, I remember
Can't
that.
forget about that one either. Well, we'll have more information coming up on whether or not. Stay with us. Welcome back to Whether or Not. Let's take a look at some of these temperatures. What's our temperature trend expected to do here over the next several days? So we are looking at the possibility to see maybe 70s as we get into early next week. We're looking at maybe Monday, and we'll see what happens on Tuesday. But notice on Tuesday, all those 70s are slowly moving to the east. We're looking at, colder air that will eventually start to come in. In fact, let me go ahead and bring this model up for you. This is the European model, and you see the front end of this, very warm. Temperatures in the 50s, 60s, of course, on occasion upper 40s, but that's still well above average. So there, Monday, March 9th, you look at the bar graph there, and it says 68 degrees are high, middle 60s continue into Tuesday, and then that's it. Temperatures just plummet after that. Numbers falling maybe to the 20s for highs as we get toward the tail end of the second week of March, getting into that third week of the month. So we do have changes that are expected to move in during that time frame. And this is the way it looks in graphical form as we are looking at the initial push of that colder air, maybe around the 11th or 12th. And then even as we get into the middle of the month, that's still very cold. Look at this, all the way up to the north, Canada, and the western Canada, well below average temperatures into Montana. As Brian Karstens like to describe that as the purple blob, well below average temperature. So again, going back to this model, you can see that those numbers falling to the 20s. I just showed you some of the graphic with that, or weather graphic system showing those below average temperatures. Now, speaking of average, here is a look at the month of March. Now, this first column in green that shows up, that's the average high, average low. And of course, those numbers are going up. So as we get into this weekend, probably in the lower 40s on average, we do have numbers in the 50s. Sunday, we may hit 60. Now, I just showed you what March 8th was, at when it was showing up at 68, well, March 9th. So that Monday where the model is suggesting 68, and then on the 8th, it's saying 65. Well, the 8th, Sunday, our record high temperature is 69. So it's getting close. It's getting within that range of trying to suggest that, yeah, we may see some record warmth, try to nudge into maybe southeastern South Dakota. And then it's just interesting to see as I look at this graphic and I highlight that 69 on Sunday, the March 8th. After that, we have to get into the 70s and 80s for record highs. So we have 3 days here in March where the record high temperature is in the upper 60s. It's on the 1st, it's on the 4th, and it's on the 8th. And then after the 8th, we need to hit the 70s and 80s to set records. And you do see how our climate average high temperature does go up. Starting in the middle to upper 30s at the beginning of the month and then ending here at the end of the month into the low to middle 50s. So, of course, this trend of having these temperatures warm, it seems like almost every other day we are going up by a degree. So we'll continue to see the warmer weather for, I can give it about a week, and then things do start to change. And with that change, we'll have to follow our snow chances. This is a look at the European. Now, I stopped it here. First half of the weekend, because as Brian and I just went through the storm system on the backside of it, it can produce snow. We're not throwing any snowfall numbers out as of yet. It's still early. We still have to see how things do develop, but this model already suggesting that snow will be on the backside of this, and that's something that we've been mentioning. Then we warm, and then in comes the colder air after the 10th of March, and with it, we can see another round of snow that the European model is picking up on. And then as that cold air sticks around, it just goes back and forth with maybe a couple of light snow chances. How about the American model? Now, there is agreement here. It's just a matter of the placement of where the snow ends up. The American model, trying to show the snow again on the back side of this system. I stopped this graphic at Saturday morning. It's on the back side of the system coming through late during the work week, can produce snow. Not giving you any numbers, not throwing any numbers out there yet, still very early. And it shows additional snow, very light, it looks like, as that cold air starts to come in, as we start to enter the middle of the month. And then after that, the cold air sticks around as well on the American model. So it's just a matter of, do we get any light snow showers in the air? How much moisture is available? That kind of thing as we go through beyond the middle of March. With the cold air, that may be in place for a while. So we do have changes going back and forth over the next 2 weeks, including the chance of seeing snow as well as seeing rain. And that's a quick outlook as our average spring snow for the months of March and April, ranging anywhere from around 10 inches in Pierre and Aberdeen to 20 inches in Rapid City. And for Rapid City, this is our snowiest time of year once we get into March and April. Thank you for joining us on this latest edition of Weather or Not. Have yourself a great day.